pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a roll call. Ms. Ryan? Present. Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Here.
Ms. Haynes? Here. Mayor Nolan is absent this evening. The first item we have on the agenda is the consent agenda. Resolution R13-135 is there should be correction. There's 3 social permits on there. 2 for the VFW, 1 for the HPP.
Right, 2 different dates, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Well, they're both for the Clam Fest.
One,
No. VFW
2.
July event.
Oh, okay.
And resolution R13-140 is not ready yet.
Oh.
Okay. And then I also need to remove the May 8 minutes because they never got printed.
And actually, I'm going to pull out resolution R13-136 because I just like to read it out loud.
Okay.
Other than that, I usually accept it.
Offered by Ms. Kane,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Redmond. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Here.
Ms. Kane?
Yes. I'm going to call this in around real quick.
Great, thank you.
Okay, this is a proclamation recognizing outstanding achievement, whereas the involvement of the student population in the band and the music department at Henry Hudson Regional is of great value and importance to an overall educational experience. And the students and faculty of the Henry Hudson Regional School District Band have given their time and musical talents to a wide variety of programs within the school and community. Whereas the efforts of the entire Henry Hudson Band and Music Department have been sought and recognized to various public performances. And whereas, most recently, the Henry Hudson Band competed in the Music in the Park Festival held on June 1 at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. And whereas the Henry Hudson Band won the A Division with a rating of excellent, taking home first place trophy. Now therefore, let it be known that all the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Highlands, New Jersey officially recognizes the recent achievements of the Henry Hudson Regional School Band, and we do hereby publicly congratulate the students, parents, and faculty members whose appreciation and support are so vital to the success of such programs on this day, the 19th of June. Thank you very much.
Yes, and what I'd like to do is I will share it with you, but also we'd like to have them perform.
Excellent.
That would be great.
Put it onto the website?
Yes, we can certainly share that. We just finished it.
Of the ceremony,
Right.
getting the trophies.
But the performance itself.
Yes,
I
we
missed
have
that
it.
part.
Yes. Unfortunately, they missed the performance of the wedding. But I also wanted to add, the band was also received the highest award given to any performing band. It's called the Esprit de Corps. And it is because they were the most enthusiastic and the best behaved band at the entire competition for 2 days. So it was really, that means more to me than the culture. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great accomplishment.
On to other resolutions.
Yes.
Resolution R13-137, resolution for recovery planning management.
Just that, and I think we'll let Tim talk to us a little bit and explain.
Just find the resolution. I'll explain without having it in front of me. Basically, this resolution, in conjunction with working with FEMA and in our long-term recovery efforts, New Jersey Future has a program that they're offering to put in place a recovery plan manager to help the borough over the long term of our recovery efforts. So they're going to be working along with FEMA up to the point where when we get the steering committees and other things that we're going to be doing along the way. Once all that information is put together, then this individual will be in place with us, hopefully for the next 3 years as we go further into the process of recovering for the Borough of Highlands. They're also working through a grant, so it's not costing the borough any dollars. And we understand that they've also been working in cooperation with Seabright, so they're going to be doing the same effort along with Seabright as well. So we think we're going to be getting a lot of good information, a lot of advice down the road, and we're really looking for the long term. They're looking at helping us with grants, and everything that comes along with it will be a focal point of tying things together and everybody looking forward. So that's what we're looking to do.
With that being said, does anybody have any comments?
Great idea to move forward.
I think it's definitely vital to us moving forward, so I make a motion to.
Offered by Ms. Hayes,
I'll second that.
seconded by Ms. Ryan. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie? Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R13-138, resolution authorizing refunds of cash portion of performance bond and engineering escrow fees. This is with regard to the gentleman, the bond, Cat Saros.
Do you have any questions?
This is no, he's just not going to do it.
Not building
He's not going to build it, so we're going to release the funds. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Offered by Ms. Ryan,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Redmond. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie? Ms. King?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R13-139, resolution approving disabled parking space. This is for a unit up at Roger Street, which was reviewed and approved by the police department.
I'll vote for that.
Offered by Ms. Ryan,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Redmond. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie?
Abstain. This point, without a sunset provision on these handicap parking spaces, I think we're doing that. They don't want it. It's a theoretical objection, so.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R13-140, resolution authorizing an agreement with the County of Monmouth for dredging of Snuff Harbor.
We're going to put it on hold.
That, no,
For the hold.
right? Because Carolyn asked for.
No. Right, we're okay.
Yes.
That one. Yeah,
That we need to-
that we need to move on.
And
Need
what were
that
we
so we
going
can
to?
think, why would we?
Why? Because I just wrote this up before, it said 140.
I mean, oh, no.
No?
It was resolution, oh, you know what, I did say it wrong, Ms. Ryan, correct.
Thank you.
That was for the written procedures that we.
Yes.
All right, then I'll remove my objection.
Your hold.
Would someone like to offer?
I'll offer that.
Offered by Ms. King?
This is the 28,000, Tim, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is for the dredging of Snuff Harbor Creek and also taking care of the property adjacent to the bank.
And you are committing that this will be done before the clampback?
Committing that this is going to be done Monday, Tuesday next week.
You went out on a limb.
It's okay, I'll go out on that limb. I'm telling you right now, the county wanted to do it this week, but they want to go without a resolution. They're ready to go Monday. They said it might take part of Tuesday, but even so, they'll be done. They're taking the dirt pile next to the bank, and they're even taking the stuff that the DPW took out of the creek, by the VFW. They're taking that too.
Note the time frame though. Right, there is a,
Yeah, they do want, they did request to go outside of our guidelines as far as start times and end times. But I figured with the urgency of it, I thought I would run it by you. But they're looking to start 6 in the morning, go to about 8 at night, but it's gonna be for a day or two.
2 days,
Yeah.
correct?
It'll be okay.
Okay.
So we have an offer by Ms. King,
I'll second that.
seconded by Ms. Ryan. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I just have another question. Has the bank been informed?
I have not had that discussion with the bank.
Because we might, I think you wanted to hold the parking
You
spot.
you definitely want to keep that last slot open. I talked to Mr. Hill about that. We'll take care of that by the end of the week, just to advise him that, whether we have to barricade that back to that head lot or whatever, just to give that room. And Ms. Ryan, quite frankly, that's only going to be maybe for Monday morning, and then they're going to be
Okay,
out of
that's
there.
fine,
moving
but
on.
I would, let's.
Oh, absolutely.
So we
Right, I
don't
just want to make it clear,
Yeah.
the inconvenience to the bank will be minimal, which is a good thing.
Thank you.
Hunter ordinances on for introduction and setting of a public hearing date for July 17th. Is ordinance 0-13-9, an ordinance establishing a preference for borough residents seeking employment with the Borough of Highlands. This is the workforce development program. By Mr. Francie.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, this is only in reference to the workforce development? Hadn't we been speaking about, other things for instance, these departments that this is not, I don't know what.
Under this grant?
Yeah, I don't think
No.
this is not.
No, but if you said ordinance for residency requirement, and then you mentioned workforce development.
Carolyn did. That's what I'm
That's what
asking
it's
about.
saying.
O-13-9?
Oh, no, this is the police department, you're correct.
That's correct.
You're right,
Police
you're
department.
correct.
You okay, Carol?
No, I'm not.
This is for beginning police department.
For the residency requirements, correct.
Right.
She combined two that have nothing to do with each other.
Yes.
Okay, so this is with future employees of the police department. Okay.
And another
And
job.
No, this is just police.
Just
Well,
It kind of has language.
It has language in there.
Right,
I think
but
it was
it's,
for,
Yeah, I think that's what
the only thing is that the voters or something.
Well, it's on for, introduction, so we will have time to discuss it. Okay, well,
Mr. Francie offered.
I'll second it now.
Second by Ms. Ryan. Ms. Ryan?
As,
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie?
Yes.
On for introduction, setting of a public hearing date for July 17th. This is ordinance 0-13-10, an ordinance amending section 3-2.2, prohibited noise, to expand the application of the noise ordinance to all structures rather than only dwellings. And section 3-2.3, enumeration of noises of the code of the Borough of Highlands, and to permit the playing of outdoor music until 11 p.m. on Sunday, September 1st, 2013.
Okay, so this basically encompasses all the chief's concerns for enforcement,
Right.
yes.
then I would move it forward.
Offered by Ms. King,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Redmond. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie?
no,
Ms. King?
Yes.
Motion carries. On for introduction and setting of a public hearing date for July 17th is ordinance 0-13-11, an ordinance creating a downtown business improvement zone, is within the Borough of Highlands.
I'd like to offer this.
Offered by Ms. Ryan.
Carla Spradwell from the HPV, would you like to, talk about this for a moment?
Sure. Do you have questions, or you just want me to explain?
Basically, what it is.
Sure. The Downtown Business Improvement Zone is a program that the Department of Community Affairs puts out. It's a zero-interest loan for 15 years that municipalities are eligible to apply for if you have a business improvement district, which obviously we do. So the challenge has been in the Borough of Highlands about business recruitment, business retention. We have a severe flooding problem. We can't leave our commercial building during high tide or rains, and we're never going to be able to attract business. And the HBP fully supports the borough to move forward with their flood mitigation plan, which is costly. And I think at this time, all the stakeholders, the business stakeholders feel strongly that if we want to move forward and create the downtown that everybody always talks about and dreams about, then we really need to bite the bullet, make the investment, and the $500,000 zero-interest loan will enable us to put the plan forward while we're waiting for the FEMA money that we're on the waiting list for. So we fully support the application, and we feel the borough should take advantage of getting the zero-interest money for 15 years, and then it puts us in a really good place to be able to, the money's available every 2 years, and we'd be able to, go back to that well, so to speak, if we needed to, once we can prove that it is critical to fix the flooding for an economic development standpoint, so that we can recruit and retain the businesses that we need to sustain our downtown. And our downtown has been really focusing on open for business and the state's campaign. A municipality being open for business is having clean, safe sidewalks to make people feel welcome to walk in the downtown. We really need to get there. We can't get there until we fix the flooding. So it's critical that we move forward with the DBIZ application. Thank you. Would you like to move forward?
We have an offer by Ms. Ryan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Francie. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Motion carries. On for introduction and setting up a public hearing date for July 17th is ordinance 0-13-12. An ordinance authorizing the leasing of certain capital equipment by the Borough of Freelands, New Jersey, from the Monmouth County Improvement Authority, and the execution of a lease and agreement relating thereto.
Tim, do you want to speak to this at all, or just, I mean, this is what we discussed
This is-
previously with Mr. Pepper, so. it's-
Basically, this is what we've gone over the last couple meetings with
Right.
Mr. Pfeffer. It does, in regards to this particular, is the potential for equipment. I think the street sweeper was mentioned,
And the dump truck.
and the dump truck, with the option that if we decide not to purchase those items, that we're not obligated to do so.
Correct. I'll offer it.
Offered by Mr. Redmond,
I'll second it.
seconded by Ms. Kane. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie? Ms. Kane?
Yes.
On for introduction and setting up a public hearing date for July 17th is ordinance 0-13-3. An ordinance authorizing the leasing of certain capital equipment by the Borough of Highlands, New Jersey, from the Monmouth County Improvement Authority, and the execution of a lease and agreement relating thereto. And this is for the police cars.
All right.
I'll make a motion to move forward.
Offered by Ms. Kane,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Redmond. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie? Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Motion carries. On for introduction and setting up a public hearing date for July 17th is ordinance 0-13-14. An ordinance authorizing the guarantee by the Borough of Highlands, New Jersey for payment of principal and interest on a capital equipment lease revenue bond, Series 2013 Highlands project of the Borough of the Monmouth County Improvement Authority.
These are a follow-up to the police cars.
So moved.
Offered by Ms. Kane,
Second it.
seconded by Mr. Redmond. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Carla, we're going to be tabling 0-13-15.
Yes.
Okay.
An offer to table by Ms. Kane,
Second it.
seconded by Mr. Redmond. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Francie? Moving on to other business, the committee with regard to the status report.
Thank you. Tonight's report is give an update on some of the projects going on around town. The road improvement project up on the hill, via Valley Avenue, Woodland, Prospect, and Bayview. That project's been completed now. All the punch list items have been taken care of. So we are currently preparing final closeout documents to close that project out. Highland Avenue, we received all the documents from the CFO from a financial standpoint. So we're compiling the documents and send the DOT to get the final reimbursement. The dredging at Joe's Creek, just to reiterate what we just discussed, we approved in resolution 140. County is scheduled to come down on Monday, starting at 6 a.m., 10 trucks, 2 machines. They're going to start with the soil pile at the next to the bank, take care of that first, and then do the dredging of the creek. They plan on working until dark. Like I said, running a round of 10 trucks. They anticipate 1 to 2 days of work, as long as everything goes as planned. They will dredge from Bay Avenue down to the second footbridge where the tie gate is. All right, so that'll be completed this week coming up. With regards to to Washington Avenue, contract has been delayed by weather a couple days, but he is scheduled to be on site tomorrow, being June 20th. Concrete work is scheduled to be completed on Friday the 21st, and then he wants to let that sit for about a week, let that concrete set up and pave the week of the 24th. So that project, as far as the road restoration, that'll be completed, should be completed next week.
Yeah?
Yes.
It's clear that our instructions to the contractor are that he moves ahead with his work. At this point, there's no hindrance from Rosette.
Absolutely not. What we did is we had another site meeting with the contractor, and I had the police department present as well. And I have instructed the contractor, if there's any interference from Mr. Rosiak, that the police will be notified immediately, we'll deal with it accordingly.
Once Rosette comes up with the court order that says that there's something, we do it.
I'd like to see that on our road. Another project is Bayside Drive. We held a pre-construction meeting on Friday the 14th. Exxon was present. Everybody is on the same page with regards to how the project will be completed, the steps being taken to protect the area that they restored. Talked about the project in length on how how it will be phased through. To be a quick project, the contractor is very confident to have this knocked out without any issues, so to speak. Right now, the contracts are currently under review by the borough attorney, and the contractor has given us a date of July 7th to start the project. He didn't want to open it up before the 4th, and he's finished up a couple projects himself now.
What did we decide to do on the Jersey barriers over there?
They're going to be removed.
They'll
We're going.
let us keep, ExxonMobil said they'll become our property if we want them.
Okay, good.
Because there's a feeling, there's a feeling from their perspective of design of the project, they're confident that the curb height will suffice their need. They're just going to help us with the tieback of the felt or the fiber underneath. They just want to make sure that's done appropriately.
Exactly, Mr. Francie. Just to continue over Mr. Hill was saying, we insured Exxon and their consultant that we will notify them when we're in the area of that hill, so they can be on site, so they're comfortable with how we proceed with that that higher curve that we're putting through there, and how we're tying the felt and everything back into that swale again. So at least this way they'll have a good peace of mind. Our project will get completed. They'll be able to move this thing forward to completion. Last thing was we did meet with we being Tim and I met with the state OEM regarding the Irene house lifting program. That was on Friday. Pete was supposed to be there but canceled out. Meeting was good. A couple of items that we still have to resolve with the OEM that they're getting answers back to us on. What was kind of concerning was the trooper that we met with stated that he is only one of two that are handling everything statewide under the mitigation program. There are already two state troopers in the New Jersey OEM that are handling this program. It's Mr. Waugh, who we met with, and also Trooper Gallagher. So that's been probably what the delays have been along the way. So now that we've gotten to this point, and we've gotten contact information from this guy before we already had Mr. Gallagher, once we get these final two items resolved, then we'll be able to roll the program out to the residents and move this project forward. That's my report for tonight. Let's see if any questions.
Becky reminds me, at this point we have a meeting, 8:30 Friday morning in the Solution Center. Tara, myself, Tim, Rick Corn. We're meeting with Congressman Frank Malone. At this point, trying to get some answers as to where we are on the FEMA list, what steps he's taken, what letters have been written, what do we have to do? Is there anything we can do next to improve our standing within the selection of projects that FEMA has to choose from? It's just not clear to us. And one of the biggest questions is, we all understand at this point, FEMA gets a little dicey about doing work, all right, that you think is going to get covered by the grant retroactively. We need to be careful. We need to understand, FEMA needs to understand we need to move forward with this program. We need to have it replaced by next hurricane season, 2014, so that we have to move ahead. So, it's a list of, that's the subject, all right? So, and I guess it helps that he's running for Lautenberg's seat, so he might have some motivation to do something for Highland between now and, say, was it October 23rd is the election? Primary in August, yeah. So that's that's going on. I do have a question with Dale. The North Street pump,
Yes.
why don't we have a proposal from Pumping Services yet?
I do. I have one, but I had a question on what they wanted to do. There was something they wanted to do with the original pump, and my concern was that the pump, the way they laid it out to me, it wasn't going to last long, because I don't want to put it in and have it blow out and be right back to square one. So they're getting me an answer on that, so I'll have an answer to you by the end of the week. I'll have a clean proposal.
Because our problem is we've got this $10,000
Right.
pump as a monthly cost, that at some point we have to get rid of it.
Exactly, and that's what I said to them too. I said, listen, it's your pump, it's out there, I get it. I said,
Which is why their motivation for giving us the proposal is somewhat lower.
yes. So I'll have an answer by the end of the week.
Thank you.
No problem.
Dredge spoils on Shore Drive?
That's all you got.
All right, that's gonna be taken care of.
Yes.
Okay, FEMA Disaster Recovery Coordination Plan Steering Committee, Tim?
Yes, I have Colleen and Craig here from, I don't know if you guys want to come up and give a little, can I have them come up and just explain part of the process? And what we're going to be looking for is a steering committee to move our processes forward through the recovery zone, which is going to take a couple years. So I'm going to let Craig and Colleen, if they're prepared, just give a little brief, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I think you might recall last time we were here that we discussed this a little bit. And at this juncture, we'd like to start meeting with the steering committee. As a matter of fact, we'd like to do that starting next week if we could. So we're here trying to flesh out the list of members, and we certainly would appreciate your help with that.
So if there's any input from the governing body.
Can you just speak up so we can all hear it and record it as well?
Sure. What we're trying to do is we're trying to establish a steering committee for the long-range plan. And what we're looking for tonight is for the council to give us a list of members so we can start setting up the steering committee meetings. Hopefully, the first one will be next week.
Madam Chair, there's item 4, it's post-Sandy Planning Assistance Grant Program. It ties into this discussion automatically. And what if we can do both at the same time?
Yeah, sure. I think just before we leave, we need to figure out how the steering committee is being put together.
Okay.
I know at the last meeting, the mayor and I spoke about appointments. You know,
Okay,
I think we need to identify what we need. Is it X amount of residents, X amount of...
Well, there's definitely a potential, and without going into names, but from the public works, public information, from the planning, emergency management, the chamber or business community. If there's any home builders, or we wanted to make sure from a community planning perspective that condo associations are thought of for consideration on this committee as well.
What about members of the general public?
We'll get to that. There's different categories. Neighborhood representatives, okay, those can be general members of the public. Environmental, of course, we need to have. If there's critical industries within the business community that would like to serve, that's another discussion. Citizens, absolutely. You know, we want citizen elected officials, perhaps recreation, the volunteers in terms of first aid, fire, the emergency services, senior groups, and also in the educational or school system involvement. So it is pretty broad, and it's a large task to narrow it down. The other thing is, and I think we'll be explaining, is we can't have a steering committee of 40 people.
Right.
So some of these categories, we know in this community, some folks wear multiple hats, and not that we're recommending or suggesting that, because that's not really fair to individuals as well. But that's sort of a briefing on what we need to do. If you're not quite prepared tonight, I understand that this isn't we wanted to bring it to the table tonight to make sure that we're out there, and if there's volunteers or people who are interested, that they do come forward and let the governing body know as well that they'd be interested in serving.
Okay, who do they need to tell? A specific person, any of us?
Or maybe just Carol.
Just Carol?
However you
I
want,
would keep it streamlined, so that way, you know,
right, however you want to designate that, if you want to use the,
citizen participation.
if you want to use the
Or-
citizen
Right.
participation form,
And that's available online as well,
Yes.
so they can print it out. and
That's
bring
a
it down
good-
to Carolyn.
that's a good way to do it.
And if you know, if any member of the public is a part of a certain group, note that on the citizen participation form, form. Say I'm a first responder, say I'm, anything that way. We know you would meet a certain criteria.
They're also going to break out into subcommittees from the steering committee, depending on the topics that are developed and how many topics are developed. So maybe additional members could join on.
We do want to move forward with this.
Right, so I think we would keep that open, obviously, for this week,
We're
wanna
gonna
start
move this
meeting.
quickly. Right, all right.
and then Tim, that'll have to kind of be a priority to work on
Okay.
the members inside,
Yeah,
You
well,
know.
definitely, sure.
internal people.
We've had some discussion about identification, that's all, but there,
Right.
and there are some, I think, folks from the public that may have contacted you guys directly already, so we'll make sure we keep that all in.
Right. Try to do a little bit of reach out.
Right.
Outreach.
Okay, great, and then Chris, do you want to just tie on?
Well, at this point, it just ties into this whole subject. We've been approached by Rutgers, all right, on 2 grants, and then this Future New Jersey.
Right.
All right, David
Cutner.
Cutner, all right, so he's signing on, and we have a contact from Rutgers, this planner, professor/planner, Carlos Rodriguez, all right, and he sent us an email wanting, at this point, asking if we wanted him to go to the ECA planning session on the June 26th concerning the Sandy afflicted communities. Now, I don't know if we want him to go on our behalf, or is the steering committee gonna go? Is Frank gonna go? Is Colleen gonna go?
I do, Chris, just so you know, I do plan on attending that meeting if need be. There's
Right.
certainly to make sure that we're represented. If Carlos is going on our behalf, that's,
I mean, at this point, Carlos would, in my mind, it's not costing us money, all right, at this point, but he expects to be involved with the Rutgers studies. So from that point of view, it would be easy to say yes. But from my point of view, he needs to be reporting to the steering committee, not necessarily to one councilman, even though I've been connected to him for a long, for a couple of months.
Well, we could also reach out to them.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to send you this email, Colleen, Frank. I'll send you the email, and then you can reach out to him, and you guys can decide whether you want him to go.
This email, Carlos,
Yes, forward, you've got forward.
I might be interested in this, in addition to.
Yeah,
Just to see what's going on and hear it for myself.
We have had previous discussions with New Jersey Future. Certainly, we expect to be joined at the hip with them.
Yes.
Okay?
From my point of view, somebody needs to be on top controlling it and having a complete understanding of who's doing what to whom.
I'm not volunteering to be
Well,
that person, I
that is
just want to
fine.
know what's going on.
Actually, I'd like to introduce Mr. Theodore. He's with FEMA also.
Okay.
He's actually Mr. Theodore.
Hi, T.W. Theodore. I'm the Community Recovery Task Force lead. So my role is to work with groups like Colleen and Craig's in all the communities that in New Jersey that community recovery is involved with. And the planning assistance grants are very important. They're quick turnaround, and you can use them for a variety of purposes. So I would suggest that you send a representative. If you're going to go, that's great. Because if someone from Rutgers goes, they'll say they can pay for our services, But there's a range of things that you could use that grant for. we're going to have representatives there just to learn more about the process as well. And so we'll be able to help you plan how best to make application and how best to use those funds. They will be, if you get a grant from them, and if it's applied properly, it can augment the work that our team is doing, and also augment the work that Dave Kuttner and New Jersey Future is going to do. And while I want to mention that we have a good working relationship with New Jersey Future. We're working with them, as you heard, collaboratively in Seabright. And tomorrow I'm going to meet with Dave at another one of our townships to begin working together with him. But I would suggest that you take control of that process of applying for, learning about and applying for that grant.
Carlos wasn't sure whether we were sending somebody down, and prior to my sending the email to Tim, I didn't know that Tim was going down. So
There was a decision this morning just before emails crossed.
So I'm going to send Carlos's contact information and the email to you two, all right, and then the three of you, four of you, work it out, all right?
Absolutely.
Carlos is going to be involved on the Rutgers side.
Yes.
And on the NOAA side, if they get that grant.
Yeah.
So he was just going to say he was going to bring the information back. He wasn't, but he is trying to insinuate himself into the situation, and that's fair enough.
But his group can also play a role, working with this community and other communities as well. And so the more resources we can bring to bear, the better for the community. Part of what our role could be for you is to help coordinate those resources.
That's
so
my point.
They're coming at the right time and in the right way for you.
We're going to have a steering committee, but I feel
Yeah.
much more comfortable in a professional steering committee.
Well, our role will be to support the steering committee, to offer suggestions, to bring experience from other places
Rutgers
for
apparently
you to make
had
decisions.
one grant from Dodge,
Yeah.
which Highlands is a subject of the grant.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any
Okay,
questions?
thanks, Colleen.
If I can just make a comment to that, there's also a notice of intent that's due by Monday the 24th as a predecessor to that.
I think
I just want to make sure it's done.
We had the deadline that's today.
That's okay,
Change, so
they're
it's just
away.
Oh, it changed?
Yeah.
You mean I was sweating this morning getting this out? You saw the panic on my face.
Great.
It's done, it's in.
All right, good. Just wanna make sure.
Okay, Carla, you
Why don't
No,
I get those?
I just wanted to point out that Carlos Rodriguez is the Director of Planning at Rutgers Lownstein.
I know.
Used to be with the New Jersey office of Smart Growth.
Oh.
Kind of similar initiative to New Jersey Future.
Yeah, it was Mark Rose. Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go to public portion, we're just gonna add one more item onto other business, and that is zoning process.
Oh, yes. There was a zoning board meeting on the 4th of June. An application was heard. There were some shortcuts taken in the process that the council was not happy with.
I don't think it was heard, right?
Well, it officially was heard, but it got to be a very truncated process, not for any other reason other than we don't know why. So at this point, we discussed it, and the council will send a letter to the zoning board chairman. Kenny is here. Kenny and I have talked, and at this point, he's aware of the discussions that we've had, and we're just going to put it on the record that the council is unhappy with the way zoning board conducted itself at that last meeting, and I doubt it was going to happen again. Kenny, I think Kenny took effective measures in my mind to make sure that it doesn't happen again, but I think the council needs to weigh in.
It's good to have it on record that you guys stated
Thank you.
here, so I'm happy to have that.
I will write a letter and spread it around, and people can comment, and we'll get it to you before the next meeting, and if you would read it into the record, that would be good.
Thank you.
Okay, on to public portion. Arnie Hughes, 50 Valley Street.
Marty, 50 Mallory Street. One question I had was, we haven't heard, the public hasn't heard anything in a long time about the plan lease. They've been having any meetings, and where does that stand? Because it's my understanding that there is a lease coming up, and there was a committee, and I haven't heard.
Okay. All of that is true. The lease is up in 2015. There is a length of time involved. We have time to deal with it. We haven't had a meeting since the storm. We are delinquent in getting back on board. We've reached out to the chairman, and at some point, we're going to take the bull by the horns and have a meeting ourselves.
Is there anything the public needs to know that's pertinent, that's been missed in those last 6 months? Because it was, the only reason I asked that was because before this, they were all hot and heavy with the meeting, with having a plan committee meeting and over the lease. If it's 3 years away, why was it so important then? And then they drop it for 6 months.
I think,
Probably Sandy.
well, the reality is, we started early enough that we've learned enough about the process. We were, in a sense, accumulating information. The urgency, there's not as much urgency. If we projected that there was an urgency to the end of the lease, that shame on us. There is no urgency relative to the lease, except we need to make sure our ducks are in a row at whatever decision we make.
Thank you. And the other thing too, there was somebody who that wanted their money back. I couldn't understand what property owner it was that backed out of the building.
30 grand more.
80 grand.
30 grand more, it's in the resolution.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
John Bentham?
Move up a little bit so I can hear a little better. First question I had, I was going to ask if Washington Avenue was open or closed. You kind of answered that with the fact that the street's going to be paved, which I think everybody's going to be really happy about. I just want to know, will residents get notice that paving is going to happen? Because tonight's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Not yet. The contractor will send notices out before he closes the road for paving.
Okay.
All right. So I mean, tomorrow the road's not going to be closed. It shouldn't be closed. He's only going to be working on the one side.
Okay.
Prepping for curbing. And then what we did is we actually expanded the project to go curb to curb, just to give it an overall resurfacing. Just to,
Now is it going to be paved like all the way from the curb to the right towards the residences, all the way up to the marina bulkhead, or?
No. The curb will be at the right-of-way line, and then the pavement will go up to the curb on the bulkhead side, which will be about 4 foot away from the bulkhead.
Okay.
But it'll
the
go.
curb line was before.
Yes.
We're not going on his property.
Okay.
We're not allowed to.
Okay.
He backed out of the access agreement.
Okay.
So we're not gonna wait.
Okay.
The access agreement will curb and.
Well, this is then going to lead into my next comment, because something that's happening on the street now is we're having significant parking problems. And because now we've got people putting their boats in for the season, you got people coming down, that aren't, year-round residents. So what you've got basically is the residents on the street being squeezed out of parking in front of their houses, okay? Me, personal problem I have is that often I have people parking on each side of my driveway and a car directly in the back of me, which makes it entirely impossible to get out of there. If you try to address it with anybody, Mr. Rosiak, or anybody that's got working over there, you automatically get snide comments, you're busting their balls, exact quote, stuff like that, okay? And this continually goes on and on and on. I'm not the only person that has a problem with this, okay? As you know, there's been a plethora of problems with the marina since Mr. Rosiak took it over, okay? Parking situation is one of them. Related to that is the conditions of the lot at the end of the marina, which prior to Mr. Rosiak taking over that property was entirely for parking, okay? Since then, it has become a major junkyard. There's no other way to say it. He's got industrial equipment up there, garbage of all kinds. There is no parking there, okay? The roll-up curbing that was originally there, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't count as any kind of off-street parking because vehicles are always parked partially on the street. Not only that, it doesn't comply with the ordinance regarding what's required for off-street parking, which is the next thing I want to bring up. because we have an ordinance on the book that if the town decides to pursue, takes care of some of the problems of the lot junkyard and parking situation. And I'd like to direct the council's attention to our land use ordinances, specifically 2165.14, which talks about off-street parking. First sentence of that is, in conjunction with any principal building or any use of land, there shall be provided sufficient parking spaces to meet minimum requirements specified herein. If you go down, it specifies, residences and other types of properties. Under marina, it specifies 1 space for every load slab. Presently, Mr. Rosiak does not have 1 off-street parking space. 0, none, zilcho. He took away the parking when he took over that property, and he unilaterally decided he was going to turn that into a junkyard. So not only do we have to look at that every single day when we walk out our front yards, now all of his people that are parking in there are spilling out onto the streets. He has the property to have off-street parking, and he chooses not to do it. And there's the ordinance on it. Actually, you can get this right off the Highlands website. That's you right there.
John,
Yeah.
not to interrupt you, but
Sure.
there's a couple of other shoes that are going to drop
Okay.
in this situation.
Okay.
That it's a little premature to talk about.
Okay.
But we believe at this point you will be ecstatic
Okay.
at the end result.
Okay, good to know. And here's the thing too. I want to point out something, and I'll make it extremely clear. Okay, this is not only my issue. Okay. Okay. When you see me here, one of the reasons I want to point something out. One of the reasons that you see me here and not my whole neighborhood is because Mr. Rosiak has gone through a process of terrorizing my neighbors and a process of intimidation. And you guys are well aware of the stuff that he's done just to me. Okay. But as you guys know, I don't intimidate very easily. So, like I said, where there's one of me, there's 40 or 50 more.
This is not between the neighborhood and Mr. Ozak. This is kind of gotten personal with us.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It is, I really don't have anything against the guy except like he hates me because I have basically come out and basically spoken my mind. And all I've ever asked the governing body to do is enforce the ordinances and have him comply with the law. And now you've got a situation in town where everybody rebuilding is expected to bring their properties up to present codes. Okay? That's all fair. But you can't have a situation where you have that mess going on and everybody putting out thousands of dollars to upgrade the properties and have it sitting there. So I appreciate to hear that, and obviously you're not going to elaborate anymore or whatever, but I'm glad to hear something is going on. But in addition to that, I mean, the whole place is a giant code and zoning violation essentially. Even in this small section, okay, I was just looking through. I mean, even violates like the lighting provision. It's like you have public property. Those people are going on those boats at night. You have to have lighting. There's been lighting there 5 years. So essentially you got a guy who's basically been operating for 10 years illegally. And he shouldn't be provided with a mercantile license, and like I said, this is very easy
You're
to
aware he
verify.
doesn't have one.
Oh, he doesn't have one,
He does not have one.
and he's operating.
And as soon as we finish the road, we're going to take care of it.
Okay, good to know.
He's not the only one.
I'll read through this real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, the other thing I want to say too is one of the comments that Mr. Rosiak has always used in the past is that he's grandfathered in. Whenever you say, okay, you can't have this, you can't do that, or whatever, he's got all kinds of industrial fabrication that goes across the street. He's used the place as a shipyard, a dock building facility, stuff that is not only incompatible with the residential zone, isn't permitted by our ordinances in a residential zone, but yet he will say he is grandfathered. Okay. Other than the fact that he's had it for 10 years, and I don't know when a lot of these ordinances were enacted, which I would assume they would apply anyway, technically, the grand bulk of the marina is new construction. Because of all the final bulkheading was put in, that's 100%. Then after Irene, you had a whole other 25% section put in, that's definitely new construction, and all the pilings have been reset, put in or whatever. So this whole grandfathering argument that you like to say, I don't feel applies, and I've never seen a document to date that shows where he's exempt to the ordinances and whatever. But close.
Don't worry, his lawyer hasn't seen it any that says his grandfather did.
That's good, that's good to know, that's good to know.
John, you're speaking to the question.
Okay, good to know, and like I said, it's a lot of this is on behalf of, like I said, everybody there, like I said, that aren't as vocal, but I mean, it is not an overstatement to say that the neighborhood has been held hostage and terrorized by Mr. Roseanne.
I think it's
And we're
an
done.
embarrassment that it's 2 years and we haven't gotten Washington Street done. And I feel that very personally, even though I live nowhere near it.
Yeah, and and like I said, this is the first council meeting I've been to this year, so it's not like, he wants to say, Mr. Roseanne wants to say I'm quote unquote busting his balls. The record shows this is my first meeting in 6 months because I've had confidence that you folks would take care of the situation. But I just wanted to let my voice be heard.
Thank you very much.
Now I'm going back to my previously scheduled program. Thank you.
Okay, Melissa McAleer, 52 Marbury Avenue.
Thank you. Hard to follow this. No worries, I don't have that much. There are 2 things that I wanted to ask the council. One is something that I just wanted to follow up, and the other one is if actually you have somebody else who can be here. Can the council provide an update on the situation with the houses that are starting to be a health hazard?
Personal property removal program. or-
We are,
May I piggyback on my wife and I'll keep my mouth shut to add to what she just said?
Is this your question?
I'm sorry?
No, okay, go ahead.
I don't know.
John Mackler, 52 Marbury. Because specifically, one of the homes across the street from us that we know is Mango, somebody's been cutting the lawn. We actually saw the former occupants, owners, recently. They said, well, it certainly wasn't us. So I'm not sure. I know we were talking to Arcadia about a mitigation plan for a lot of distressed properties. I realize that may be some time and money coming. I know that Frank was contacting banks. We had gotten various responses, but now if someone needs it, not us, and that's going to be a problem. But if the banks, just so you know, if they're saying, oh yeah, we're doing this, mowing the lawn ain't going to cut it, because we know that they have not been inside that home. The other thing of concern is that the owners of that home went in, they were never able to recover any of their possessions after the storm. They said there was stuff in that house that was not theirs. Now, since we were fortunate enough to move back into our home 2 weeks ago, I haven't seen any evidence of squatters, or I would have been right on the horn with the police and I would have been sending a car by, but the homes are not secure. Now, I don't want to see the concrete and steel window guards like I see in Newark when I work, block upon block, but the bank and property owners may have to do some of the security these homes as well.
You want to talk a little bit about
That's
that?
the update. Sorry.
private property debris removal and potential demolition project is moving forward. There were deadlines that had to be met with FEMA to get letters. We've done the resolution. We've identified approximately 170 properties that we feel, and there again, it's an arbitrary feel, that need some type of addressment, pretty much storm related. The tricky part of that is that some properties weren't in that condition due to storm. Okay, there were some that were certainly there before the storm, but FEMA is looking at that as a number. The next step for us is to get all the certifications in, and the process is going to take time. The right of entry process, the whole legal process, even working with FEMA or with our existing ordinance is going to take time. It's easier through the PPDR program once that's put in place than it is with our existing ordinance, but we may have to invoke some of that going forward. So we're working with the health department. The construction official did email me another list because we're going off that list for potential demolition. Right now, we're saying, and this is encompassing of private property structures, so I can't get into detail, that there may be 50 to 75 structures that may need to come down or be removed. But that being said, I can't go into detail on that in terms of where those properties are located.
So that's actually was A, are we looking to work with Arcadia? And B, when are we going to be able to see sort of the list of those properties?
Okay, when are you going to be able to see the list of those properties? That list could change as we're sitting here.
But, when are the citizens going to be able to see it?
Okay, I'm not sure what your question is. We're in the grant process and notification process. So what is your question? When can you see the actual list that's being compiled?
Right, to make sure that the properties that we living in the neighborhood are aware of. Again, I'm not exactly sure why I'm
It's not a secret, but it's an arbitrary thing. If I point out that your property is being potentially demoed right now without notifying you, you may have an issue with that. So there's a process and a procedure that we have to make sure is covered. So that's what we're working on right now.
Have you given the house and the properties that you feel are questionable, have you given them to the construction official?
I actually gave a couple of them to the Solutions Center.
Okay.
No, I'm not talking about the solutions of a construction official.
Oh, okay, no. So
Okay, to be very clear, has to go through the construction official.
Okay, so to Paul, you should get those addresses.
Yes. If there's anything out there, I'm strongly emphasizing you should get that information to the construction official.
Now,
Okay.
is there anything short of, in some instances, of course, it's probably the best thing to demo a property, but is there anything short of doing that which may be more expedient, less expensive, and more in keeping with what the homeowner may, whoever the homeowner, the structure owner may want? In other words, do we have any legal teeth to say to somebody, you need to go clean up this mess? Or we're gonna have to do something about it.
I think we can go that route. Aside from PPDR, the only thing is, and this is the reality of it, if we take certain actions like that, we're not eligible for the program. So we'll be encumbering those expenses with non-reimbursement.
Even if we ask, request, notify a property owner that they must do something about it?
If we do everything that we need to do and the process works out, we need to put a lien on the property and things like that, we are still bearing all those costs with no reimbursement. However, when the lien's payable down the road, which could be X amount of years, then yes, that's when we recoup our money. So it's not as easy as everyone said, well, just go knock down a house.
Well, what about fines? Right,
Yeah.
so I'm not even getting to necessarily.
How about citations and fines and?
We can
Daily
go that route, Mr. Francie.
I mean, realistically, and I'm not, I understand this is a lengthy process, we've been involved in one grant. Realistically, what kind of timeframe are we talking about from say tonight to when the first bulldozer moves?
I would say at this point, probably earliest 3 months.
That's actually surprisingly soon in my mind.
That would be the earliest.
Okay. I was guessing next summer.
Earliest.
But I'm just wondering, I mean, do we have any legal leg to stand on to say, hey, clean up your mess or pay a fine?
I think code enforcement wise, we can go into that from our own ordinances and enforce it that way.
I'm sorry, that's a follow-up question on the and this is something that I think we had addressed a couple of meetings about in terms of providing some sort of a more organized transparency and a way to communicate to the broader population of this town. There are a lot of folks we're finding that actually are not really internet savvy, don't necessarily operate their email, don't have access, or they don't really don't have a way or are conditioned to go to the town's website. And I think we had all kind of explored the different ways, maybe through phone calls or alerts or things of that nature. But I feel like, and through conversations with other folks, I really feel we need more broader transparency and communication on the activities that the town is conducting, on the grant process, where we are. I feel that there are a lot of different communications that we are trying to squeeze in a fairly short amount of time with a fairly small population of individuals that show up here. But we need to really think about it from a more broader perspective. And actually, one of the feedback and suggestions that was offered was to create old-fashioned bulletin boards. Put them in Katz's, put them in Welch Farms, put them in some of those places. They don't cost a lot. People go to those places, they're there, and they will be able to at least have a way of getting visual information other than having being forced to go to a website that they may not be able to. So again, I would really
We do have a public bulletin store in, trailer at 42 Shore Drive.
Again, some folks say that's pretty far along. Not everybody lives in that part of town.
And it's not open lane.
And it's not open lane, and it's just one place. So it's I think we should try to make it more available to people that is sort of part of their daily lives. If they go get bills, they can get information as well, as opposed to having to make an extra trip. Maybe they're elderly, maybe it's hard for them to walk. Maybe they work. Right. So there are a lot of different options, and I think we really need to be looking at that communication. Honestly, I don't know if anybody recently looked at other towns' websites. Ours is really falling short. I don't know who manages it, but you think that it's a better way of communicating. Whether it's through the website or other means.
I think, I don't know if we can put a bulletin board in stores, but.
Well,
the post office-
one question would be, and maybe we come up with something that's standard, I don't want to say standard based on the store, but maybe we can approach some of the stores of that nature, see if we can come up with an information kiosk or something. I know some stores may already have bulletin boards. I'm not sure who's posting information out there, so some of them may already have that ability, but perhaps we can come up with something a little bit more along that line.
And not to, maybe you can work with Mr. Hill and help us distribute some of that information. Maybe pick it up on Fridays and bring it to the places that we can get it out to. Or however, if you don't mind,
No. I mean, I'm one person, I work 3 hours, so I don't have to do that.
As far as the website, I mean, there is information up there and there are links and we get a lot of responses that people are finding information on there. So I don't want to debate the website. There's many ways of people getting information. I find it very hard to believe myself with all the calls that we get that folks are saying that they're not knowing what's going on. So that's just a personal feeling. I think there's a lot of ways we got to rely on neighbors helping neighbors too, and I think that's something that some folks have forgotten about. That's another way of getting information out. If you know people are shut-ins or not able to get out, if you get the information, we encourage you to get it out in that fashion too. I think that's something that we've certainly forgotten.
are you guys done?
Just wanted to say thank you to Tim for fixing our garbage issue.
I got lucky.
You were very responsive, so thank you.
Okay.
Oh, see, it didn't happen for you though?
2 weeks.
So you're in the same zone.
I don't know if we're in the same zone.
We're on Marbury.
So you're not in the same, okay, then you may be,
Thursday is our pickup.
so I'll follow up with that. So it was half good news. They emailed me back and said it was taken care of, so I didn't follow up with you more.
Kim Swerven, 316 Short Drive. Back in May, the special council meeting with the zoning board and planning board, there was a gentleman in the audience who said he was getting engineering plans from different countries on different solutions for highways. The only thing I've ever heard is that we're going to backfill the town, and that concerns me. And I'd like to know who this gentleman is, and if they can share these plans with the public so that everybody can see what some of the steps would be.
From the environment. Yeah, he was sitting in the back and he talked about it. I believe those were plans that came through the mayor and went to Steve Zalicki. I know they weren't distributed to myself.
Okay.
So
Is there
I've
a
never
reason the
seen
mayor
them
won't distribute them to
either.
police council? So that you guys at least have a basic knowledge?
I think the call of the plan is that might be overreaching. I think this man from Japan was talking about an experience he had in some other country, and I don't know where that was. All right, but
Any idea? I'd love to see it, whether it's a paragraph or 3 pages. I know someone can't give us an extensive study on how to fix our town, but right now the only thing that's being batted around is the Army Corps of Engineers doing their study and we might backfill. And I'm very, as someone who lives against the hill, I'm very concerned about the backfill because you can't raise my building. I'm a 6-unit condo, and it concerns me. So I want to know what other things the mayor and Steve knows about that nobody else knows. The council doesn't know, and maybe the environmental committee knows, but I don't have a clue, and I feel out of the loop.
Yeah, I mean, if anything was going to be considered, it would have to come here first. So, but we just haven't seen it.
a suggestion has been made, and we're gonna take advantage of it. The Army Corps has currently got a $100,000 budget to study solutions along the Bayshore, right? And we're gonna put a specific request into that, right, to consider other alternatives. And it's part of this DB, downtown business zone narrative, all right? I share you, I understand what you're saying, Kim, all right? All of the plans and the stuff you saw on Channel 4, the stuff you saw on NPR, those are all individuals' ruminations about the subject, all right? It's, nothing is a plan, all right? But, so we're gonna ask the Army Corps to look at other alternatives besides their berm, all right? And,
We're writing them a letter, right?
we're writing them a letter.
Send them a letter saying, give us more, not just this one idea, give us more.
Nobody's, I mean, that,
No, I think the solution is I'll just email Mayor Nolan and ask him to share the plans or ideas that he has shared with Steve.
Okay.
Anything else, Kim?
No, that's it, thank you.
Veronica Strayhill? She's not here. She left? Okay. May Rugg? Got anything?
Just to get bombarded with adults messing out there. Somebody took our sign down. We want to get a new sign.
We'll talk to Jill about that. We can talk to Jill about that. Ida? Okay.
The people are coming from Henderson Drive. It's not our building, because our director sends out memos and the people listen to the memo. And our little boys here, they take up and they do anything. These people are reading giant walls from the end of the street, and they're doing their business right in front of the building. And we sit there. And we sit there and smell and feel helpless. I don't feel as though I'm a commissioner, I don't feel it's my business to stop everybody that does it. I don't want to be law, but I would like to see a sign for there. Please curb the door, possibly even fine, small fine.
Okay.
You have to report it.
And yeah, and Ida, when you see that, you should report it, just so they know. So that you call the police?
Call the police or Jill?
But what is so hard about walking in the grass or at the end of the thing, and let the doors do their business in the gutter, like you're supposed to?
Okay. Joe? You're good? Okay, Carol Bucko. Already, you're second from last year.
I have written to every representative we have in the state because we have ideas to protect our building and our land, and we cannot get a DEP. And we can't get a DEP permit. Yeah.
You have to backfill the front of your bulkhead because it's down to nothing.
No, our bulkhead is being repaired by us.
No, but I'm saying there's no sand or any
Oh,
beach in
there's no
front of it.
sand. No.
I looked at it.
But everybody in the world has promised us sand, and nobody is coming through. And everybody in the world is promising us help, and nothing comes through. We got rejected by FEMA for our loan. And every time I come to a council meeting, I hear Highlands is on the list. What the hell list are we on? Atlantic Highlands has money, Seabright has money. We're on the wrong list, guys. You gotta find the right list. But anyway, it was suggested by our legislators that I seek assistance from my town council. So I'm here seeking assistance from my town council to maybe sit down with us and listen to our ideas and maybe help us protect the land. And So you name the day.
Want to have a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yes.
And which Tuesday, I don't know.
You wanna do Kevin and, you wanna do it or I'll do it, I'm free, any one of us. All right, Kevin and Tara?
Kevin and Terry, okay. Now, I'll send out an email to you, Mr. Redmond, and it's fine, to see what he said. Thank you.
Okay. Just make a brief comment. Get back on some things that are constantly.
All right, let me finish the list first.
Okay,
Okay?
thanks.
No problem. Okay, Claudette.
Same thing that you guys were talking about. I'm next to a condemned house. 48 hours ago, a church group showed up with a dumpster, began cleaning out the condemned house that has a sticker on it that, from the bank, came to us and asked us where our property line was so that they can go onto our property line. They're cleaning out this house. And today when I spoke to the gentleman, he told me that council or the town has given them permission to go into this condemned house, repair the house, fix the porch, fix the siding, fix the sheetrock inside, all for free, so that the people can move back in and raise the house. Now, my understanding on a condemned house is that no one's supposed to be in it. Am I wrong? It's condemned. So when I pointed that out to the gentleman, I said, I think you need to go to the town.
It's condemned for habitation, it's not condemned for not going in.
Yes, I understand that, but they're repairing it.
So the permits on file to repair it?
These are volunteers, and they said that the property owner, the gentleman from the church.
Just give me the address, please.
10 Cedar. I advised them to come back to the Solution Center to talk to the construction department because it was condemned. And the gentleman told me he didn't see the condemned sticker sticking on the door and that all the houses in Highlands had that sticker. And I said, no, we don't all have that sticker, but probably the best thing to do is go back and talk to Nancy and find out what's going on. Because I have two concerns. Number one, my house is, as you know, on cribbing and getting ready to come back down soon when we get the footings in. So I have a concern with people walking between the houses. That's my one concern. And the second is, the house was uninhabitable before, and it's worse now. The foundation is over. Everybody knows what it looks like. You just have to drive down the street. There's no front porch.
They
these
need
people are going
permits,
in.
whether they're a church group or not, they need permits.
They cannot just go in.
So at this point, Tim, I'm not sure.
I'll follow up. I know the address, that's the first time hearing of it, so the council did not give permission to do that. Council doesn't give that permission.
So we'll definitely check into it. Take a
Okay.
look into it.
I just don't want to get hurt, especially on my property.
All good? Anne Marie Tierney?
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I'm going to ask a question because I've gotten a little late, so I'm really getting out of the office. But I see that the liquor license renewal is on the agenda for this evening. Were the liquor licenses renewed, or is it up for 2 weeks, or what?
They were renewed that were on the list.
Okay, so were any limitations put in the liquor licenses?
No restrictions.
Because I know that when we talked about the liquor licenses a month ago, you guys were aware of the requirement that you had to consider all the complaints regarding specific businesses before you renewed liquor licenses. So is that considered at all before the liquor licenses were renewed?
No negative reports that came back from the police department, fire. So every year for liquor license renewals, all those departments go out to each facility, do a report, an investigation, and then they're supposed to provide us a report if there are issues.
Well, we know from Joe Blewett that there were over 37 complaints on the Wednesday last summer. Were those taken into consideration in the context of renewing the liquor license and the other establishments around town?
And Joe Blewett recommended the approval. Like, we go through basically the PD. If he had any catch-alls that would preclude us from making different decisions, which is fine. We did send out, well, we will be sending out now that these things have passed, the letter from the mayor and council regarding noise and how to conduct themselves and that kind of stuff. And we are looking at different signage for the area and stuff like that.
But right now, it's basically business as usual, the same crap we had up with last summer, and no new protections for the neighborhood. Is that correct?
No, because the noise ordinance is being changed, so that the PD can enforce it.
My understanding is that it's still not going to be enforced during hours when music's allowed outside. Is that correct?
It's going to enforce that right after the hours that the music should be done. If they go past when they're not supposed to be playing anymore, that's when enforcement will come in.
Right now, the ordinance doesn't actually limit noise to hours. There's a requirement that if there's noise that's audible within 100 feet of business, they have to shut it down. So have you now changed that until people are allowed to make as much racket as they want until 10 o'clock at night?
No.
With Memorial Day weekend, I know Councilman Ryan told me she could hear the music from within sea on her front porch, which is about a half a mile away from the business, not 100 feet. So they're out there with amplifiers and audio systems and no regard whatsoever for the neighborhood. Is that allowed under the new ordinance?
No, right now, as Joe Blewett says, he should be able to enforce it with the changes that he's made. So I think we're giving the police chief the tools that he needs to get the job done.
So if the noise, I'm sorry to ask so many questions, but really, this is, honestly, the changes.
Hold on, Sam,
Thank you. So you were saying, or am I misunderstanding what you're saying, that the revised ordinance, and I haven't seen the language, would allow the police to shut down noise or ticket businesses if the noise is out of control before 10 o'clock at night?
Before 10 o'clock?
Correct. They have full bands with amplifiers blaring at 9:59
On the
at
weekends,
night.
it's till 10 o'clock. Other nights, it's to 8.
So
correct.
they can then make as much racket as they want until 10 o'clock at night, regardless of the state regulation that requires decibel readings for businesses that abut a residential dwelling. So our town is deciding to put a standard in place that puts residents at significant disadvantage until 10 o'clock at night. Because the houses were shaking Memorial Day weekend from how loud those amplifiers were. How is that okay under the state statute? And why are we allowing that at the town level? We're putting no limitations on how much noise they make.
we're working on that. It's a work in progress, and we have to make sure we get it right eventually. That's the problem. We've tried the decimal thing, it's not working.
Well, I thought we had a decibel reader and then we let the license
never
lapse
had
so that we stopped
I
using it.
think we had one years.
I haven't had one in years, from what Joe Blewett says.
Correct, because he decided not to use it, from my understanding.
And then yeah, he's not here. If he was here, we could ask that question. But that's, I mean, I think this is what he's saying is the tools to move forward. Let's try it. If we have to tweak it, we'll tweak it. I think it's a moving target at this point. And we'll just keep chomping at it until we get it right. But we have to have a happy medium because there is business, there is residents.
Becky, there's no medium. This is 100% one-sided situation. I want balance. I talked about this. I 100% support these businesses. We want them in our neighborhood, but we want them to be respectful and we want the balance.
And we have sent them letters telling, we did, well, it'll go out right now. A letter's gonna go out to them, I believe this week, we drafted it, just wanted to make sure everything went through. Giving them the noise ordinance, telling them what we expect of them, telling them that we have to be considerate of our neighbors, and that the police are going to be enforcing, significant noise. So we have to, and if you have issues, just call PD.
And what signage are you considering, and when do you expect something in place that protects the residents' rights in some ways, since now you're protecting the business rights, not the residents?
No. We're working with both. There's a program that was recommended by the HPB. I'm sorry, Carl, what was the name of it? Downtown? Sorry, the name of the program just went out of my head. But it is designed to help with these issues, Anne Marie. And specific guidelines are put up for what you can do in the residential areas that abut a business that is loud. There's signage, there's lighting, there's various things that can be done.
I looked into it, I spoke to Joe Blewett, we can go to this program. Carla gave us the, what was it? 710. Okay, and we are. It's not falling on deaf ears, it really isn't.
Well, it's not going to fall on deaf ears because we're making back over and over and over again until we have to have no choice but to file a lawsuit against the town. And that always ends up being what residents have to do to get things done the right way, and that's really frustrating.
Well, we
because
are-
we don't have a lot of money right now, and we're all trying to figure out how to get back in our houses.
And we're trying to figure out how to work with the businesses and more with the residents, and we really are. We're not just ignoring the situation.
Well, Tara, I would say that an ordinance that allows a business to make as much noise as it wants.
It's not as much noise as it wants. It's maybe it's not written in the language, and I understand what you're saying, but no, they cannot make as much noise as they want. So perhaps this will have to be looked at and we're tweaking it as we go along.
Can I just, I'm here filling in for someone, so, but my understanding of the ordinance revision that's proposed is that the problem with the existing ordinance is it says that the noise outside a fully enclosed principal dwelling. So if the noise was coming from a dwelling, it could be enforced, but it doesn't say a business or a structure. So they removed the word principal dwelling and they changed it to structure. So now if noise emanates from a structure that can be heard from 100 feet in distance, there would be an enforcement mechanism. So they are doing a change in the ordinance recommended by the police so they can enforce the noise if it extends 100 feet beyond the structure.
And I'm sorry, I didn't look at the ordinance, I apologize.
That's why I'm trying to just clarify.
And it's after 10 o'clock at night?
That has nothing to do with time.
Or it's different, okay.
The timing is a separate section that says,
That's the outdoor music.
right, that says that it's deemed to be excessive if it goes beyond those times, but if it extends beyond 100 feet, there's no time limit.
Okay, so right now, with the ordinance change that was made tonight,
It hasn't been made, it's proposed.
sorry, excuse me, that's been proposed tonight, if a building is emanating significant noise at any time, our police can write a ticket?
Yes.
Okay. And are they going to write tickets?
Yes.
I hope to, yes.
Well, don't laugh when you say
But
that.
I'm not, I'm just
Yeah.
trying, somebody has to make the call and they have to be
They
there,
have to file a complaint.
file a complaint. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's gonna happen, but yes, they are gonna enforce it.
Why do the people have to file a complaint?
Yeah, won't the police take it upon themselves?
I don't see
to
why
talk to-
people have to file.
You know, if I'm speeding down the road, policeman pulls me over, nobody calls them. They saw.
Well, you know, and if you're talking on a cell phone, does everybody go around and call too when you're driving a car? No.
Okay, Anne Marie, are you done? Just want to keep
I'd like
order.
to just clarify, when we talk about outdoor music as opposed to music emanating from a dwelling, does that change your impression of its enforceability?
It says, use or amplification of sound system equipment inside or outside of a enclosed structure.
Okay, that's good.
So it prohibits amplification outside of the structure?
Doesn't
Could be a
prohibit.
house.
It doesn't prohibit.
It just says it has to be under control of the plainly audible at 100 feet.
Okay, so what happened on Memorial Day weekend?
This ordinance wasn't in place.
No, I appreciate that, I'm talking about Labor Day weekend or 4th of July weekend. We shouldn't be dealing with that level of music emanating from the outdoors of that building, is that correct?
Should be calling the meeting and they'll go down and enforce the ordinance.
Remember that ordinance will not come in effect until the 17th.
Huh? This will come in effect on the 17th.
17th of July. There's no change.
There's police officers stationed in front of this building from whatever time to whatever time, so I would assume they can hear the music, you shouldn't have to call a complaint. All we want to do is see some action protecting our rights. We like the business, we like the businesses, we like the fact that it's generating jobs for the town, that's not the problem. The problem is that there's inadequate parking, they are taking up all of Miller Street Beach parking lot all weekend long, so there's nowhere for people to park from town that want to go to the beach. They're parking all over our streets, you know, John has a problem on his street, but we have a problem on our street all summer long. And we have the problem, as all of us have experienced, of these drunk people pouring out of that establishment at 2 o'clock in the morning, not realizing, I don't think they're, for the most part, they're not purposefully trying to create havoc, but they're very loud. and they're not getting ticketed. And I think that what we had talked about is Beach Haven and other towns, and Carla, I don't know if what you provided covers sort of no tolerance zones where there's signage in the neighborhood that says, if you make noise, you will be ticketed, please respect the neighborhood. But that's the sort of thing that will go a long way. A lot of these kids are good kids, they're not bad kids, but they're drunk and they're loud. And they're parked in front of our houses. And they get their cars and drive. So all we're looking for is things like the ordinance, and thank you very much for that, but there has to be other things. There has to be residents only parking after 10 o'clock, or there has to be a real ticketing effort so that people come to our town to have a good time, enjoy themselves, but they respect our neighborhood. And if they're not respectful of the neighborhood, they're going to get slapped with tickets that hurt, and they're going to get slapped again and again and again until they stop doing it. Because it's been 10 summers of the same bullshit. It's enough.
Okay. Irene Campbell?
Yes, hi. I'm here as president of the Highlands Board of Education, just to update the council on what's going on at the elementary school. We used to have Tara Ryan, who was on our board, but now she's on the council. So at any rate, I guess most of you have heard by now that our superintendent of schools, Christopher Rooney, has resigned as of August 9th, which leaves 3 schools, Henry Hudson, Highland Elementary School, and Atlantic Highlands, looking for a new superintendent. So we started the search on June 1st, and over the last few weeks we have about 15 resumes of different people who want the 6th position. And on July 1st, we have a tri-district committee in place of 3 board members from each school is going to interview the 15, or go over the resumes and see which are worthy of an interview. And at that point, bring them in, and hopefully by the time Chris leaves in August, we will have somebody in place.
Great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Carla?
I just wanted to comment on the communications regarding the Hurricane Sandy efforts. We are trying to put together, we've been approached, the Highlands Business Partnership, by some groups looking to disseminate information or set up a table at the Clam Festival. So I'm thinking about gathering information, a small area in the park where it's not taken away from vendor spaces, where we can have information available, whatever groups that want to advocate. We'll probably have Sarah from our office, from the regarding the Robin Hood grant and whatever other programs are in place. We'll be having information available there. So if you have anything you want us to get out to residents that do not have internet access, I personally, anytime anything's available, I make sure it gets on the Hope for Highlands website right away. Of course, I still have my opinion about the information available for FEMA, but I know we're working on that. But I just wanted to say that if you wanted to have any information, also the firm MWW that's been retained by the state for the Stronger Than the Storm campaign has contacted me and asked if they'd be, cover the Clam Festival. So that's going to be really good exposure for us, and they'll probably have information as well, in addition to the Stronger Than the Storm kits with the hats and giving them out at the Clam Festival. So any information that we need to get out to the community, and of course, if there are any volunteers willing to man the table for any amount of time, that would be wonderful as well.
Okay, great. Maybe if you can give us a deadline, maybe we can get something printed up of most important items for the residents type thing. Just a front and back page.
Carla, what are the dates this year?
August 1st,
To the 4th.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Thank you.
And this is actually a very good suggestion. Thank you, Carla, so much. It made me think, would it be worthwhile to maybe also have sort of a solution center booth? Given that pretty much everybody's going to show up at that point.
Well, that's kind of like what.
It'll be a collaborative of everybody.
Yeah, like if FEMA has information, we have some groups that have already approached us. Maybe it's Gateway Church that was mentioned, maybe it's our program.
Perhaps an information.
Just whatever people have, and it's gonna be an information table. But the challenge we always have with tables like that are people manning it. So far, the groups that have approached me they say, well, we want to come Saturday, but we don't have anybody to come on Sunday. So somebody, it would be good if we can get people to man it every day, so.
If you cut me free from something else, I'll do it.
Sorry. If you're already assigned somewhere, you have to stay there.
Okay,
But,
are you good?
Yeah.
Like I promised, we'll let Mr. Bentham go for the last of the public portion, and then Mr. Francie just has a question for engineering.
I just want to make a comment because it's a reoccurring theme and it's been going on for years when I was on council now, and it just continues to go on. I hope the town council realizes, if you haven't already, that the town council has a historic opportunity here to reverse and eradicate the Sanford and Son, Wild West, do whatever you want attitude that has plagued this town for decades. This is the opportunity, okay? And don't take it from me. Everybody knows it, all right? But I remember specifically, and this goes to what happened at the beginning of this council meeting. This council, members of the council meeting, commissioned something called a DBAT report, which I read in detail. One line in that report said, essentially, you cannot market a place that is essentially unmarketable. And it's unmarketable because the codes and the ordinances are not enforced. And it disturbs me, with all due respect, Mr. Hill, to hear somebody say, well, that's a route we could go. It's a route we should go, always. And that's been the problem. It comes down to quality of life. When people are spending inordinate amount of money on investments and repairs and upkeep their properties, to not do that is a slap in the face. It should be consistent always. And now's the opportunity. And I hope you appreciate that, if for no other reason, you can come out looking like heroes on this if you do that one little thing.
Okay, real quick, and then.
Is there any truth to the rumor after they want to develop from Bay Avenue, Miller Street up to Shore Drive? Because right now, there's a house that's been condemned for years on the corner.
Oh, okay, the corner.
And Kim Harriman told me she's selling her house. And the house next door has a sign on it. The house on the other side of me has a sign. I'm the only one that don't have a sign, and I don't know whether to go ahead and fix it or not.
I think that's something that we can tell you, Meg. I don't think that's something that we can tell you. I mean, if you want to fix your house or not want to fix your house, I think.
I really can't hear you that good.
I think it's a decision you have to make. I don't know, you might want to talk with Ms. Carriman and see what's
I
happening.
haven't heard from anybody yet, but that was a rumor I heard, and everybody seems to be selling their house but me.
Right.
And I don't want to
Okay,
be
Carla's going to talk to you
developments on
afterwards.
both sides of it.
Okay.
Carla's gonna talk to you afterwards.
Okay, Mr. Francie?
I'm sorry, just another point, Dale, I forgot to bring it up during your report. Could you report on the meeting with the community rating system, please?
Sure. Mr. Hill and I met with the representative from the state and from FEMA regarding the community rating system. Now, the report they gave us, and they're coming back with more information, they told us we have at least 73 properties in what they call a negative rating, meaning that over the years, that things were approved that shouldn't have been approved, things were built that shouldn't have been built the way they were, and people that have done things that aren't conducive to what a flood mitigation, not conducive to flood mitigation. That could be from building a solid foundation in the V zone, from building, elevating their home but not high enough, to elevating their home in an 8 zone that allows a solid foundation, but didn't put any flood vents in. So there's numerous violations, for lack of a better term, and they are to be providing me a report on that. Basically, right now, they said that before they let us into the program, you get it twice a year, before they let us into the program, they wanted to do two things. A, they wanted to go around town and pretty much do a physical audit of further areas. They had a list, but they wanted to do another run around town, and then they want to reconvene with me in October and see where we stand since Sandy, what have we done. I told them what we're doing moving forward. I explained to them what my process is, on approving houses, on reviewing houses to be lifted. They seemed confident with that, which was a good thing. I explained to them how I determined substantial damage. I explained to them about all the letters that were circulating around town that really weren't on a basis except for water level. And they understood how that happened. They weren't happy about it. They understood how that happened. But they seem to have a better confidence moving forward since our meeting, which was good. So basically, what my role is now is to keep moving forward with the direction I've been taking with regards to flood mitigation with these houses. Obviously getting the houses up in the air, getting the proper flood variance if they're in a certain zone to make sure they comply, and then they're going to reevaluate us. And then once that happens, then they're going to make a determination at that point whether we can get into the program, and then once we get into the program, if they choose to let us in the program, then we can start moving forward with the steps to start getting our insurance rates lower.
When will you have that list of, from my point of view, in review of those 73 homes, to see what the deficiency is, see how we ended up, because at this point, we understand the rules, so we have to review that list of 73, and I think that's critical.
Yes, the her name escapes me, but she's supposed to be generating that list for us.
And they were actually going out they came with the list that they had on file. Wasn't something that we produced necessarily.
Right, it was a list that they
It was something that they had, and they were going out that day after they left the meeting with us to go around and just take a look at some of those situations.
Now, the list they had wasn't complete. They said they had 73, but they didn't have the whole list with them. But they were doing another run around town to check for further deficiencies.
I don't know whether it's Dale or Tim, but at this point, would you send a letter to them and ask them for that information?
Sure, they're compiling, what I'm trying to explain, they were here with a list of 73, they were going out post-Sandy, don't forget, this list may have been pre-Sandy, so they're going out to do physical inspections.
Against it, we need to understand why.
I can reach out to Mr. Watt tomorrow from the state and from the lady from FEMA.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think John had a
question. I can do it after, but partially answered my question just now then. So they are going to go around town, they may identify more properties.
They went around town already.
Okay, so they're continuing to identify properties that will prevent us from joining. If we are denied, will they provide a list of steps of what we need to do to get into the program? And is there a time period in which we are disallowed from joining the program if we are denied?
The way they explained it, John, was that they allow you twice a year, May and October.
Okay, so we can reapply next year.
Yes. Exactly. They're coming back in October to reevaluate us to try to get a feel of how we're proceeding
As
now.
this list of properties is generated, may I suggest that we cross-reference it against the properties we have already identified to be demolished? And so if these do prevent us from entering the CRS, we're going to have that problem taken care of.
Right. That was something Mr. Hill and I had already discussed.
Okay.
Doing that. So that's something. Once we get this list, we can go many routes where they cross-reference it along several aspects, so to speak. So I mean, obviously the goal here is to get in. They're not saying that one way or the other that they're not going to let us in. They want to evaluate us again. So it was good. We were able to get them to the table. They explained to us what the process is, and now we just have to, especially on my part, to keep my due diligence to keep moving forward in the direction that I have been to show further compliance with the town.
Motion to adjourn, offered by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Francis, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.